and YouTube, and welcome to episode 33 of my Doctor Who action figure reviews. In today's review we have a very special figure to look at, and as you can see it's the other Doctor as portrayed by John Hurt from The Day of the Doctor and The Name of the Doctor. Technically the newest addition to the Doctors until Peter Capaldi's seen on screen, and this is a very exciting figure as it probably wasn't expected at all, but I'm very glad to have this figure. It's absolutely fantastic. It's a really exciting release, latest release from Forbidden Planet, and it's exclusive. It costs about £15, and it's very, very nice figure, lots of detail and some very, very cool accessories which I'll get onto in a minute. So to start with, I'm going to take a look at the packaging, as the packaging is very different to previous figures. Now, all other releases of Doctor Who in the classics usually come in a nice little window box or just a plain square box, but this one is a nice oval shaped box made out of transparent plastic with a rounded card on the inside, the new Doctor Who logo here, some information on the other Doctor, a very nice image of John Hurt. If I just pull back a little bit and do that. There you go, there's the image of John Hurt taken straight from the cover of the Day of the Doctor and the posters. A little bit of information about what's included in the set and the character options logo there, and of course the Underground Toys stuff as well. Another thing to note about this figure is that it says that this is the other Doctor. I have a bit of a gripe with this. It's not the other Doctor, it's the War Doctor. It says so in the titles of Night of the Doctor. He's even listed as the Doctor in the credits of Day of the Doctor. It's not the other Doctor, it's the War Doctor. So I don't know why they couldn't go with that name, but if we wanted to get technical we could say he's the 9th Doctor, and then it just gets really confusing. But that's enough of that. Let's take a look at the actual figure. To start off with, I'll look at the articulation. The head can turn, but it's hindered by this scarf. It can go left to right. The arms can do a 360, but also they are ball jointed, which is a very nice extra feature. So the arms can go out to the sides, back and forth. The biceps can do a 360. His arms can bend, and of course he has wrist articulation like all other Doctor figures. Be very careful, as these could pop out due to the cuffs of his the jacket. He also has leg articulation. They go forward and backward and out to the side on a T-joint crotch piece. His knees can bend, and he does have thigh articulation, articulation on the lower leg, but none on the feet. So that's basically the articulation. So now let's talk more about the detail of this excellent figure. Now, the first thing to look at, of course, is the head sculpt. If we take a look, I am lost for words with this head sculpt. It's John Hurt. That's all I can really say. It looks just like John Hurt from the episode. You've got all these fantastic little details in it. You've got the wrinkles of his forehead. You've got the grey eyebrows, his really cool beard painted on. The white's a bit garish on mine, but it's alright. The hair with the very small little mohawk, all gelled up, with the grey washes and the whites to give it more texture, and it's sculpted very, very nicely as well. Like, you've got all the bits, so you've got every little bit there, and the paint job helps to highlight all the extra little bits on it as well. The scarf is a plum white knitted scarf. It's basically a plum colour with the pattern in white on the scarf. This isn't exact to the actual scarf in the story, but that's because it's such a small sculpt that they couldn't really fit the detail on the scarf. I mean, it's a small scarf in the story, but on a figure it to be even more difficult. So they've just gone with these lines, and it does look very, very nice. Moving on to the jacket. It's a leather jacket. It's the same kind of jacket as worn by Christopher Eccleston, the Ninth Doctor. However, there are some obvious differences, as you can see. The first one I'll note is that the reason that this one is a lot baggier is that Christopher Eccleston's has a belt going across the back so that it takes it in, whereas this one doesn't have that, and that's why this is a lot more baggy on John Hurt. The other thing to note is, of course, the paint job. Obviously, this Doctor has been fighting in the Time War for a very long time, so of course the most exposed part of his clothing would be the jacket, so it's all battered and worn in different areas. This has just been achieved by having painting it in a lighter brown and then going over it with a darker brown wash in areas, so that some areas are covered in leather, whereas some look rather worn, and I think the paint job on this is absolutely fantastic. It looks really, really nice, very nice leather effect. It also has a kind of funny texture as well. It definitely it's very rubbery, but there's another texture to it, I'm not quite sure what. You can see the 3 buttons on each side as they were in the story. He's got the... oh, I've just dropped him, I'm sorry, John. He's got the pockets in the sides here, the very nice collar. If we were being technical, this should be popped up slightly, but that's not too big of an issue. He did have it down more than up. One little thing I will note is on the inside of his jacket, he does have the belt that can go across the back. If you watch the scene in Day of the Doctor where he meets the 10th and 11th Doctor for the first time, there is something sticking out of this bit here, and I do believe it's the belt that's meant to go around the back. They haven't included this, obviously, because it's just not needed. You also have the lines of the cuff of his jacket, which are very, very nice. And a line going across here, and a lot of very nice little creases in the sculpt to make it look well, it gives it the baggy effect, and it makes it really, really top notch. I just think it's really, really good. I think Character Options have excelled themselves with this figure. Moving on to the waistcoat. This is a waistcoat very similar to the 8th Doctor's. It's in a kind of green colour, an olive green colour with silver buttons going down there and along here. You have the fob watch chain as he wore in the story. It does put you in mind of the 8th Doctor's coat, waistcoat, if I just do a little comparison with this 8th Doctor here. I think you all know why he's here. You can see the waistcoat there, and you've got the chain done in the same kind of fashion with the silver and the slight little marks in it to make it look like a chain. So that's very, very nice. The trousers have a belt. This is just a square buckle belt with nice straps going around it from the trousers. He has his bandoila strap on his left shoulder. This is the strap he takes from Cass after she's died as the 8th Doctor when he renounces his title and decides to fight in the war. This has been sculpted very, very nicely onto the figure like this. You've got these little solid pieces with screw holes in, and then these little gaps in the middle and these thin little strips at the front. You can't really tell, but if you just tip it under there slightly, if I just switch my lamp on, it might help. He has got brown leather underneath the silver, as there is a strap obviously attached to this bandoila strap, so that's nice attention to detail as well. The trousers are in a kind of dirty brown. It's like the coat, it's 2 tones of brown, a darker brown with a brown wash over the top to give it that sort of worn effect, which is very, very nice. And then we have his combat boots that he wore with the gaiters attached to them, with a couple of the buttons not fastened. The row of 4. Oh, sorry, I haven't been lifting it high enough. He has a row of 4 buttons just there, and obviously you can see the buttons there and the gap where it's not fastened. The strap goes all the way around here with the little buckle. It doesn't continue under the shoe like the Colin Baker figure does, but I can live with that. And it goes all around his lower leg like that. Very, very nice. It's got some very nice creases in, and the same with the other leg. What I quite like about this is the this one is fastened differently to that one. That one's completely fastened all the way down there. That one isn't fastened in the same fashion. It's got 4 buttons, then 2 unbuttoned, then 1 buttoned, and then 2 unbuttoned, which is very, very nice. It gives it a bit of variation. They haven't just swapped the sculpts on the leg. And you can just see the shoelaces of his shoes as well, and the little details in his combat boots, which are very, very nice. All these little details, I think, are just really helping make this figure even more special. Now I'll move on to talk about the features of this figure. I'll begin with the accessories. I'll begin with the one to hand, pardon the pun. It's his sonic screwdriver, the one he uses in Day of the Doctor. It's basically the standard sonic screwdriver sculpt with the round head taken off the end and slightly tweaked. The end should have a little blob of red if you wanted the screwdriver to be active, but it would be just plain silver if it wasn't activated, so I can live with that. And of course on the other end you have the red little knob at the end with the black bit at the end on there. So that's a very nice little accessory. Of course all Doctors have to come with a sonic screwdriver, unless you're Colin Baker. And it's just nice to see them give the War Doctor the complete set of accessories. The other accessory is, well, on the packaging it says this is the Time Cube. It's not the Time Cube, it's not the other Doctor, it's the War Doctor. This is the Moment, of course, from Day of the Doctor, the thing that turns into Billy Piper and will end the war by destroying the Time Lords and the Daleks. This is very, very nice. It's just a cube with all these little adornments on it, all these markings around the rim. You can see the silver bolts going all around it like that. And what I particularly like is how much detail has gone into it. The Gallifreyan symbols all around here, adorning these 4 gears, the smaller gear there being different to the others, with all this great detail painted in a gold finish. And then you go around here, you've got more Gallifreyan symbols painted in a off-green colour with black in these little circles. And then if we go here, you've got the rotating bit made out of silver and gold metal. As well with the little screws. That's very, very nice. We go here, we've got more kind of gears. These are more like Gallifreyan symbols painted in gold with a brown background with even more symbols on. And then if you go here, you have that sort of maze-like feature with the pale off-white colour and the grey sort of maze. Kind of reminds me of a map from Metroid. And this little banner going round it. And then if we turn it down here, you have the nice little square section with the rows of 4 with various Gallifreyan symbols on. If we take a look at the box for a second, just in the background, I just knocked my figures over. As you can see, matches very, very nicely with the on-screen prop. I'd say it's spot on to the on-screen prop, but obviously smaller, and it's just very, very nice to have a extra accessory to go with the War Doctor. So the final thing to look at is, of course, the other accessory, which is this curious little extra, which is of course a brand new 8th Doctor head sculpt. Now I like this head sculpt. It does still look like Paul McGann, obviously. I think the problem with this one is they've tried to make him look older, so the likeness isn't quite as strong as on other figures. If I just bring in an 8th Doctor for comparison here, if you take the original and then put him next to it, it does look a bit odd, but it's definitely older. I'm sure he's very pleased that the wig is finally gone. As we're saying, very nice detail. The hair sculpted as it appeared in Night of the Doctor, with the dark brown and black washes to highlight the hair. The neck is longer with more jowly on the actual figure. If we just go there, you can see the jowly underneath his chin. I do apologise, my camera's gone out of focus. The flick of hair going onto his forehead. The eyes are very, very nice, and on his lip there appears to be a scar. You can't quite see it there, but there is a scar on his lower lip. Whether that's there or not, I'm not sure. So obviously if we have this head, that does of course mean that the War Doctor's head is removable. So you can remove John Hurt's head, there you go, like that. You also find out that the scarf is removable, like 4th Doctor scarves. Nice little feature is it does show you the shirt there, just in a pale colour with some buttons. You can just slot that straight back on. And of course you can just take this 8th Doctor head and plonk it straight on the figure, and there you have it. You have a 8th Doctor in a War Doctor costume. Now I'm of two minds about this. One is it's really cool, and the other is why on earth have you done that? The 8th Doctor does not wear this costume ever not even in Night of the Doctor. You never see him in this costume. So why they've done this, I'm not quite sure, but I do have a little theory. Just regarding the look, I think it's nice, but it looks a bit squat on this body. Looks like he's got his shoulders kind of shrugged up, but it does look very, very nice. My reasoning for why they've released the figure with this, I think that we've got another figure set coming on the way from Night of the Doctor. What my opinion is that they're testing how many people buy this figure with a interchangeable 8th Doctor and John Hurt head. And what they'll do next is release a Night of the Doctor set featuring the Night of the Doctor 8th Doctor in his battered kind of costume that's very reminiscent of his original costume. And what I think they'll do with that is they'll give you another John Hurt sculpt, but it will be the younger John Hurt sculpt, possibly taken from the I, Claudius screen grab. And then what you can do is you can take this head and put this head on that figure, and you will have you'll have a 8th Doctor head to go with that figure, and you'll have a younger John Hurt head to go with this figure, so that you can have a young John Hurt and an older John Hurt for different periods in the Time War. That may not be the case, but I think that would be a really cool idea for them to do. And to be fair, I do really want to see a release of the 8th Doctor's newest costume and a Dark Eyes costume. The head does put me in mind of Dark Eyes as well, so maybe it might be the case that this is usable with other 8th Doctor, with a Dark Eyes 8th Doctor if they ever do one. But the other thing that you can do is remove this 8th Doctor's head, the original's head, and remove the head from this body as well. And you can basically take this head and you can put it on the old 8th Doctor's body and have a more I would say normal looking 8th Doctor. It does look very, very nice. This is probably what he would have looked like if he hadn't worn the wig and he wasn't bald. I think he would have gone for this sort of look. Now this looks very, very nice. However, if you look at the two, the neck is much larger and it's a lot longer, so I think it doesn't quite work with this figure, which is why I'm led to believe this is going to be used with a different 8th Doctor rather than to be used with the old 8th Doctor figures, because it just doesn't quite work. The neck looks really, really long compared to the rest of his body, and it does look rather odd. Looking at it, it's still Paul McGann, it just doesn't quite work with this costume. So it's a nice little feature, but yeah, it does look bizarre to say the least. One final thing to note is it's not compatible with this 8th Doctor from the Toys R Us Children of the Revolution set. The reason being that the plugs are different. This one is larger and slightly thicker than the other one, so the head, the hole for the plug it's not quite big enough, and if you try to force it you may loosen the plug on the head and it won't fit on the other figure. So that's a shame, but it's still nice to have such interchangeability for what is a one-off release figure. We probably won't ever see another War Doctor figure ever again. So that's pretty much it for this review. Fantastic figure. If you want my honest opinion, this figure is definitely worth it. It's one of the best figures they've released in a long time, as we haven't had many. If you are a fan of John Hurt's War Doctor, you'll definitely want to get this. If you're just a fan of John Hurt, you'll want to get this. It's a nice figure and it does look a lot like him. Obviously, if you enjoyed the 50th anniversary, it's a nice little addition and you do get some cool accessories. And if you're like me and you just want to, if you just can't stand the thought of not having every single Doctor, as he is a Doctor, then get this figure. That's all I can say. Get this figure. It is worth every penny that you would pay for it. You can get this from Forbidden Planet. It's an exclusive. It's not long been released. It had a little bit of a delay as it was meant to be released last week. Mine got here today and others have had their deliveries in the past few days as well. So thank you for watching this review, guys. If you'd like to see more information about this figure, please watch Batman March's upcoming review of this figure. It should be arriving the same day as I upload this. And definitely go to his blog, as I'm sure he'll have some information there. Thanks for watching my next review. I don't know what it'll be yet. I have been just waiting for this to come out, but as soon as I do, you'll know. Please feel free to check out my other reviews, and I shall see you in my next Doctor Who action figure review.